The way snap counts have fallen, obviously getting work for five defensive ends is challenging. Has it been ideal for you? Because sometimes it's been only half the game for you. Is that good by you? Ideal?
I'm enjoying it. I think everybody's getting a chance to get out there and play. I think the rotations are good. So obviously the skill set's there across the group of guys we have. So there's, coach always tells us not really any starters. Just whoever goes out there the first play, then a few plays later there'll be a new set of guys, and so on and so forth. We all end up playing probably around the same amount, and I think that puts the accountability on everybody, but also it keeps everybody engaged. It lets everybody go out there and have their chance to be, at the point of attack. So, I think everybody's enjoying it, and myself included.
Do you feel because of the rotation? Do you feel fresher, maybe by the fourth quarter?
It's hard to say now. I think hopefully this strategy pays dividends. Maybe I think fourth quarter's yes, but I'd like to think. I always feel fresh in the fourth quarter as much as you can be expected playing this game that's brutal on the body. But I hope in December, that's when you can tell that it's a different level. But again, it's all going to be relative. So if we all feel fresh, we won't know unless you go ask somebody else across the league who's not doing it, and then you got to kind of make your own formula as far as who feels fresher and why.
Sorry, because of obviously what you've accomplished in the league and the respect for you, does Coach Chris, when he comes in, or Matt Burke, do they have a conversation with you and say, look, you only might be playing 50 to 55% of the downs this year. We want you to know this going in and not be surprised. Does that conversation happen?
It's happened in the past. It's not something that happened recently, but I think both of us, meaning both of us, the coaching staff and myself, we try to do what's best for both parties, including myself and obviously the team. So, as you guys know, it's been a time where I've not been a starter and I've taken less reps, but then what was necessary, things changed, and the role had to change. Again, I've done a lot in this league and I've been around, and my whole goal is winning. Pat myself on the back all I want, but that team success is something that necessarily hasn't been at the forefront of my career, and I want to make sure that this year, if we can do everything we can, whatever has to be done, I'm on board.
Have you learned anything from Robert about the position? When you bring in a new guy like that, is there anything that you?
Oh yeah.
I know you've been around for a long time, but maybe you pick up something new from a guy like that.
Yeah, we always talk about our craft a lot. I think anytime you get a guy who, what is he? I don't know, 65 sacks. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever it is. You guys can look it up. But obviously, a guy who knows what he's doing, he can get to the quarterback. We always bounce ideas and tips and tricks and wisdom off each other, and it's a treat to have a guy like that. So probably different ways we go about it as far as getting there, but we both get there. So anything that I hopefully have been able to put in his game, I know obviously help, and he does the same for me. And whatever you can use, you use, and maybe some things I can't. He can do some pretty amazing things. So you take what you can and leave what you can't.
What's one thing?
I don't want to give away too much, but he has a interesting philosophy on snap counts. I'll say that much.
On the
Quarterback or center quarterback snap counts, yeah.
And do you see that philosophy as valid? Have you given any?
I haven't. I've dabbled with it at practice. I don't know if I'm ready for prime time yet, doing some of the things he does. But it again. The more you can learn, there's no such thing as knowing enough or being too smart or whatever you want to call it. But so any opportunity that I can get something from anybody, it doesn't have to be a D lineman. It could be a safety. I was talking to a corner today about some football stuff.
So, question for you: have you asked the quarterbacks about his theory on snap counts?
How
much research have you done?
Actually, not the quarterbacks, but we have had conversations with the O-line coach. So I'm sure that maybe trickle its way up to because we were talking. It's probably more center than technically quarterback. But again, when we're don't say help trying to defend the quarterback or center. Obviously, we have a quarterback and center, and some of the things that may be going on, we want to help them from not getting exploited in the same way that you're talking to somebody in the Raiders about their snap count philosophy on getting to Tannehill. So, sometimes you figure out a key, like, hey, this might be something that can help Tannehill or the center or a guard or a corner or whoever. So the information flows, not just one side, corner to, DN to DN. It can go DN to center to quarterback, hopefully to offensive coordinator, and, it'll help everybody.
It's interesting that you bring that up because I remember seeing in the summer, your coach, Chris would go over and work with some of the offensive linemen.
Oh, yeah.
In practice. So are the defensive and offensive lines working together more so this year than in the past? How much shared information is there between the two groups?
It's funny how it always works, and it generally goes like this. OTAs and half a training camp, we're kind of butting heads. We're against each other. Like, I know something about you. I know your weakness. I'm going to exploit it for my own benefit, for the defense's benefit. Yay, pat on the back. And then somewhere around in the middle of training camp, it's like, all right, now we're not necessarily foes anymore. We're the Miami Dolphins. It's like you guys see it. We're trying to kill each other, and then it kind of turns to, all right, we're all going to get behind each other and fight someone else. And so as training camp goes on, it's like, okay, listen, I know your tell, or I know your whatever. I've been doing it to you for the past 3 weeks. Don't let them do it. So I'm telling you, look, you're not going to show this, or don't do that, or don't do this. And now you're on my side. I'm telling you what I found out. Don't let the other team exploit that. And so it does get, it's like it starts off with, haha, I got you, to, all right, look, let's get this fixed so he won't. I did it to you, pat myself on the back, but we're not going to let him do it to you.
And that's something that's always like that, or is it any different this year than?
I think it as time goes on and you gain wisdom. When I was a rookie, I probably wasn't doing that because I didn't know. I was just out there just running around. But as you grow and you start to learn and you start to figure things out, you say, all right, look, you're doing this. This is giving away that. I know every time you do that, this is going to happen. He's probably just as smart. There's a Cameron Wake on every team, maybe. But he understands. There are smarter football players out there who understand, all right, this could be a giveaway. Let's stop doing that because that's going to not only hurt you. When it hurts you, it hurts the offense. When it hurts the offense, it hurts all of us. So I don't say sacrifice, but I'm not going to probably be able to do this anymore to you because I'm telling you what it's doing.
Yeah.
But it'll help the entire team because I'm telling you.
So you were pulling aside Laramie.
I've done Laramie, Juwan, offensive coordinator, the offensive line coach, the center. There are things, like I said, we study. I'm sure they do the same thing to us. Like, look, this is what happens. This is what he's going to do. Or when he does this, he does that. Same thing. There's a guy on the team you're going to play that's smart, and they study, and they're probably going to pick up on this well. So cut it out.
What was you at one point were the rookie who had to tell, I'm sure, that some offensive tackle explained something to you?
Yeah.
What was it?
It could be alignment. I remember having many of sessions with Vernon Carey. For some of you guys who've been around for a while knows who he is. And again, it started off with foe. I was trying to make a team, and I'm trying to beat him every way, anytime I can. And then as we kind of got to a point where, look, now we're not foes, we're teammates, and I want you to win on Sunday, and he wants me to win on Sunday. He had things about whether my alignment, my stance. He could tell when I was dropping or when I was rushing, when I was coming inside. And again, he played for, was it 9? So he's a veteran in the league, so he understood. And those things that he told me, now I can tell a guy like maybe a Charles Harris or, one of the other young ends who, hey, look, maybe don't do this. He's going to know. They're smart too.
Is the ultimate comfort level of when you can share that the weekend after Labor Day when all cuts are done?
It doesn't. To be very honest, it doesn't really have to be that long. There are guys, and I think across the league, there are guys who have a tougher time making the roster. But wisdom is wisdom. I want him to be successful, whether it maybe not on this team, maybe it's on another team, another league, whatever it may be. Hey, maybe one day down the line, there's a guy who got cut that's like, oh, Cameron Wake told me blank, and I'm using it in the CFL, or I'm teaching my high school team, whatever it may be. It's just an opportunity to pass on that wisdom that was passed on to me, whether I think you're going to make the team or not. It should be beneficial.
You always seem sort of happy when we ask you about teaching things. you seem to enjoy that part of when you talked about teaching Charles when he got here, and even just now, you seem somewhat interested in what we're asking you about.
It's probably a part of the game that's not highlighted as much. We always see the highlights and all this stuff on TV, Sundays and all that, but those things don't happen if there weren't guys, the Jason Taylors of the world, who told me, who one day I tell Charles Harris, who's going to one day tell X guy who's in high school, and so on and so on and so on down the line. And I've been around guys who don't share and don't want Charles Harris to get sacks because that would take away from me, and I don't look at it that way. You know, I want Charles Harris to go out there and break the record. That's a fine, by the way. Break the record, because that in turn furthers the cause of everybody involved. So happy, I don't know. I don't consider myself a happy guy, but sharing wisdom, I'm all for it because it's mutually beneficial.
I'm sorry for saying that you were happy.
Yeah, bad choice of words. Terrible. Very angry.
You go with semi-interested.
Not opposed to. I'll go with
I
that.
apologize formally for referring to you as happy.
Yeah.
So it was-
How common would you say that is across the league, like pass rushers sharing maybe your marquee move with somebody else?
That'd be hard. I'd have to go and be a fly on the wall in other locker rooms or other defensive line rooms. Or
You maybe like if you're facing like a JJ Watt or a Bond, do you guys
oh yeah.
pass
I know other guys, and we speak, because then it's kind of like us versus them again. Like, all right, us D linemen versus the O linemen, because it's, you know, we as a group want to get more sacks. Every time I watch football, I'm cheering for the defensive end. I don't care who it is. I'm always out there like, oh man, I almost got him, get the sack. You know, so, and obviously I know a lot of guys personally on other teams in other leagues. I'm not other leagues, in other areas of the country, but. Especially when it's on your team, then it's for sure. And even week to week, if I know a guy who has played or knows a guy personally on the offensive side of the ball, of course I'll give him a call. Hey, you played so and so last week, 2 weeks ago. What you got on them? And vice versa, they do the same to me. So.
What is it like to now be an established player to a point where people are coaching what you do? People are breaking down film. This is the Cam Wake rip and under move.
Well, I don't get to see it as much as maybe some other guys. It's always happening around outside of where I am, so I don't really get much of a perspective on it. But it's probably more rewarding when you have guys come to you face to face and say, "Hey, listen, I watched such and such, whatever that play, so whenever," and asking me about it or how to do this or help me with this, and it could be another guy who's gotten 60 sacks like a Quinn, or it could be somebody who's never touched the NFL field, undrafted rookie free agent, and I've had both. And again, I think that's hopefully somewhat of a compliment to what I've accomplished over my career, and I take that with all the rest of the accolades and enjoy it.
Have you ever considered being a coach next year, though?
Bounce it around every now and again, but that's to be determined, I guess.
You think you'd want to coach like this level, or would you enjoy more maybe younger kids like high school or something like that? Have you ever dabbled in it? Have you ever like gone and helped out in anything?
Yeah, just dabble, not anything official. My high school actually came down here twice over the last 4 years. I think, and played one of the area high schools, the best high school in the country, DeMatha Catholic High School. And one of my own former teammate is a head coach now. So whatever I can do, again, to further the cause, it doesn't have to be my teammate or a defensive end from another team. It could be a high school kid who maybe on Friday night wants to go out there and put on a show. And he might never ever touch the NFL. He might not even make it to college. But if I can help him go have another moment to, be successful, how does it benefit me to not? That's kind of what I always wonder. Like, what am I doing to say I'm gonna keep my secret from him? I mean, I don't understand the logic on that.